Riftwalkers Radio is waiting for you.
Just step through the rift.
And discover a world of fantasy like you've never heard before. All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the world of fairies and nature spirits.
Definitely sounds enchanting.
We'll be exploring this awesome YouTube video called The History of Fairies, Creatures of Celtic Mythology and Native American Folklore.
Ah, from the Mythology Matters channel. I've seen their stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, they do a great job. It's fascinating how we often label these beings as just mythology, but
Is there something more to it? You think there's something deeper going on?
I think so. Maybe a connection to human psychology or even our relationship with nature.
Could be. The video starts by defining fairies and nature spirits, and it's amazing how diverse they are.
Right. Everything from those delicate little winged creatures we often picture.
To powerful tree spirits, like almost becoming part of the forest itself.
Yeah, merging with the bark and leaves. It's like they embody the forces of nature, you know?
Absolutely. Like instead of just a stream flowing, it's a water spirit controlling it.
Right. Or a forest growing, it's tree spirits ensuring its health.
It's so vivid. Makes you wonder if these stories were a way for people to understand the natural world.
Makes you think, right? I mean, think about all those fairy tales where if you harm nature, you get cursed.
Oh, totally. Like cutting down a sacred tree or polluting a spring, there's always consequences.
It's like a built-in morality system encouraging us to respect nature.
For sure. And the video even connects this to the modern environmental movement.
Oh, interesting. So, like, our renewed interest in these beings reflects our growing awareness of needing to protect our planet.
Exactly. It's like a reawakening of that ancient wisdom.
Love that. So, going back to the folklore itself, the video highlights some cool cultural variations.
Like the Seelie and Unseelie courts in Scottish folklore.
Yes. Seelie representing summer's growth and warmth. Unseelie representing winter's decay and cold.
It's so cool how those myths capture the cyclical nature of the seasons, right?
Absolutely. And not just the seasons, even different aspects of nature, you know?
Oh, yeah. Like the Seelie court with beauty and light and the Unseelie court with darkness and wildness.
It's acknowledging the full spectrum of nature's forces, not just the pretty parts.
Exactly. Makes you think, could those courts also be reflections of different aspects within us, too?
Whoa, I like that. Like our own internal light and shadow.
Right. It's like what Carl Jung said about archetypes and the collective unconscious.
Oh, that's deep. So we're seeing a pattern here, the ancient cultures recognizing this powerful force in nature.
And using these incredible figures like fairies to try to understand it, right?
Totally. It goes way beyond just reading a children's book of fairy tales.
Definitely. And the video goes on to explore how these beings have influenced art and literature.
Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream immediately pops into my head.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic. And you can't forget the pre-Raphaelite painters.
Their depictions of fairies are just so ethereal, so otherworldly and magical.
They capture that sense of enchantment perfectly.
Totally. And it makes me wonder, what image comes to mind when you think of fairies?
For me, it's those lush green landscapes, you know? Often bathed in this soft, magical light.
Yeah.
And then these delicate winged figures just blending right into the environment.
It's like they're made of the forest itself.
Exactly. And what's amazing is this isn't just a thing of the past.
Right. The video talks about how modern interpretations keep these stories alive.
In books, movies, TV series, it's everywhere.
Blending the traditional with the modern, it's really cool.
And these modern versions often explore even deeper psychological themes.
Oh, like tapping into Jung's idea of the collective unconscious.
Exactly. Suggesting that fairies might represent universal human experiences, even anxieties.
Makes you think, right? Like they're often associated with the unknown or untamed forces.
Could be a way for us to confront our own fears, maybe navigate the complexities of being human.
It's fascinating. And speaking of specific figures, the video goes into detail about a few.
The Banshee, Selkies, and the Trickster.
Ooh, I'm particularly curious about the Banshee, that harbinger of death in Irish folklore.
She's a chilling figure for sure, tied to specific Irish families too.
Makes it even more personal, right? What do you think, why she captured people's imaginations for so long?
Well, she taps into something primal, don't you think? Our fear of death, the unknown.
It's almost like she embodies the grief and sorrow surrounding death.
A bridge between the living and the dead. It's both terrifying and fascinating.
Oh, totally. And her mournful wail, it's like an echo of that ancient tradition of keening.
Where women would lament the dead, it sends shivers down my spine just thinking about it.
Me too. But there's also something deeply spiritual about it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. She's not just a scary figure. She's a reminder of life's cyclical nature.
Right. A force that connects us all.
Exactly.
Okay, before we get too existential, let's lighten things up a bit. What about selkies?
Ah, the shapeshifters. They can transform between seal and human forms.
I'm already picturing a beautiful woman emerging from the sea, shedding her seal skin.
It's such a romantic image, but there's also a deep sadness in those stories.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like a longing for something unattainable.
Exactly. The Selkie woman often feels torn between two worlds, belonging nowhere.
It's a metaphor for the human experience, isn't it? Feeling torn between different desires.
Absolutely. And the video even mentions some feminist interpretations, which is interesting.
Oh, right. Like the Selkie woman's forced transformation representing the struggles women have faced.
Exactly. It's another layer to those stories, connecting them to contemporary issues.
So insightful. Now, last but not least, we have the trickster.
Ah, the one who always keeps us guessing.
Right. The video focuses on their role in Native American folklore.
Figures like Coyote, Raven, and Nanaboso, they're all so different, yet so similar.
It's that paradox that makes them so fascinating. On the surface, they seem like troublemakers.
But the video suggests there's a deeper purpose, right?
Exactly. I'm curious, what do you think that purpose is?
Well, they challenge norms, defy authority, often use humor to get their point across.
Like they're shaking things up, making us question our assumptions.
Exactly. And they often highlight the consequences of our actions, especially bad ones.
It's like they're teaching us through their own misadventures, which is kind of brilliant.
Totally. And those stories are more than just entertainment. They're packed with cultural knowledge.
It's ancient wisdom disguised as playful mischief. I love it.
Don't we all have a bit of the trickster in us, though? Those moments where we act impulsively, learn from our mistakes.
Oh, for sure. I've got a few trickster tales of my own, but maybe we'll save those for another time.
Haha, fair enough. But speaking of specific trickster figures, the video goes into some fascinating detail.
I can't wait to dive in. It's like we're peeling back the layers of these myths, uncovering hidden truths.
Exactly. And who knows what else we might discover. Yeah, it's amazing how much depth there is to uncover. So let's start with the Banshee. The video describes her as deeply rooted in Irish culture.
Oh yeah, she's specifically associated with certain families, right? Like a harbinger of death for their lineage.
Exactly. It's like she's tied to their ancestral history.
It's both fascinating and kind of creepy, you know?
Oh, for sure. The video talks about how she's connected to this ancient tradition of keening.
Where women would lament the dead.
Yeah, it's this really powerful expression of grief, and the Banshee's wail is almost like an echo of that.
I can just imagine hearing that mournful cry in the dead of night, sending shivers down your spine.
It definitely makes you think about your own mortality, doesn't it?
It does. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's a spiritual element to it too, right? Like she's not just predicting death, she's a part of that transition.
Absolutely. The video talks about how she embodies the collective grief and mourning surrounding death.
Like she's a guide between the worlds of the living and the dead.
Precisely. It's a powerful concept, and it's so deeply ingrained in Irish folklore.
Okay, well, let's move on to something a little less intense.
Yeah.
What about selkies? Those shapeshifters who can transform between human and seal form.
Those stories are always so full of longing, aren't they?
Oh, totally. The video talks about how the Selkie woman is often torn between these two worlds, never fully belonging in either.
Yeah. Yearning for the freedom of the sea, but also drawn to human connection.
It's such a powerful metaphor for the human experience, you know? Feeling like you're caught between different desires, never quite fitting in.
Absolutely. And the video touches on some really interesting feminist interpretations, too.
Oh, yeah. How the Selkie woman's forced transformation can be seen as a reflection of the historical struggles of women.
Precisely. It adds a whole new layer of meaning to those tales.
Makes you think about him in a whole new light, doesn't it?
For sure. Okay, ready to delve into the world of the trickster.
Oh, I'm so ready. Those figures are just endlessly fascinating to me. They seem so chaotic on the surface, but the video suggests there's a deeper purpose to their actions.
Absolutely. It's like they're agents of change, disrupting the status quo and challenging our assumptions.
And they often use humor to do it, which makes the lessons even more memorable.
Oh, totally. Think about it. We often learn the most from our mistakes, right? And the trickster is constantly making mistakes, but there's always a lesson embedded in their misadventures.
It's like they're teaching us through their own folly, which is kind of brilliant.
Right, and they're always pushing boundaries, forcing us to look at things from different angles.
So they're not just tricksters, they're teachers.
Exactly. They're trickster teachers, using humor and mischief to impart wisdom.
I love that. It's like they're saying, hey, it's okay to laugh at yourself, to make mistakes, to not have all the answers.
And that sometimes the most profound lessons come from unexpected sources.
like a mischievous coyote or a cunning raven. Speaking of which, the video mentions some specific trickster figures from Native American folklore. Can you tell me more about those?
Oh, absolutely. There's the classic tale of Coyote trying to catch fish by dipping his tail into a frozen lake.
Oh, I think I've heard that one. Doesn't he end up getting stuck?
He does. He ignores the warnings of others, thinking he's smarter than everyone else, and ends up paying the price.
It's a classic example of how the trickster's own cleverness can backfire.
Exactly. It's a lesson about the dangers of greed, impatience, and thinking you know it all.
And then there's Raven, right? The video mentioned a story about him stealing the sun.
Ah, yes, the raven who brought light to the world. It's a popular tale among Northwest Coast tribes.
So he's not just a trickster, he's a culture hero too.
He's both. He's a complex figure capable of both great acts of generosity and mischievous pranks.
I love that. It keeps things interesting. Right?
Absolutely. And finally, there's the tale of Nanaboso and the ducks. Nanaboso tries to trick the ducks into being his dinner by pretending to be a dead log.
Okay, I can already see where this is going. He's not going to pull it off.
Nope. The ducks see through his disguise, and he ends up empty-handed and embarrassed.
It's a classic trickster moment. A reminder that deception doesn't always pay off.
Exactly. Sometimes it's better to be honest and straightforward.
Well, I think these trickster tales are not just about individual characters, they're about human nature itself.
Oh, I agree completely. They reflect our own struggles with temptation, our tendency towards both creativity and destruction.
And the fact that life is full of surprises, you never know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. They're a reminder to embrace the unexpected, to learn from our mistakes, and to find humor in the midst of chaos.
I feel like we could talk about tricksters all day, but the video also explores the symbolic meanings of various animals in Native American folklore.
Oh, yeah, that's another fascinating layer to these stories. It's like the animal kingdom becomes a source of wisdom and guidance.
The video mentions coyote, bear, eagle, raven, turtle, wolf, buffalo, snake, and spider. It's amazing how each creature takes on such profound symbolic significance.
Absolutely. Each animal embodies specific qualities and archetypes that enrich our understanding of Native American cultures and beliefs.
So let's start with coyote, since we've already talked about him as a trickster figure. What other symbolic meanings does he hold?
Well, he's often seen as a creator deity in some cultures, responsible for shaping the world. But in others, he's more of a trickster, causing chaos and disruption.
It's interesting how even within a single animal there can be such diverse interpretations.
Right. It speaks to the complexity of both nature and human understanding.
So coyote embodies that duality, that tension between creation and destruction.
Exactly. He reminds us that everything is interconnected and that even chaos can lead to new beginnings.
It's a powerful message.
Yeah.
What about bear? What does this powerful creature symbolize?
Bear is often revered as a symbol of strength, healing, and protection.
Oh, I can see that. It's such a powerful animal, and it's known for its fierce protectiveness of its young.
Absolutely. And it also has a strong connection to the natural world with its ability to hibernate, symbolizing death and rebirth.
Right, like that cyclical process of nature that's so central to many indigenous belief systems.
Precisely. The bear embodies that wisdom of nature, the understanding that endings are also beginnings.
It's a comforting thought, actually. Okay, let's move on to eagle. What symbolic meanings does this majestic bird hold?
Eagle is often seen as a sacred messenger, connecting the earthly realm with the heavens.
Oh, I can totally see that. Soaring high above the earth with its keen eyesight and powerful wings.
Exactly. It symbolizes vision, freedom, and spiritual enlightenment.
And in many Native American cultures, eagle feathers are considered sacred objects.
Used in ceremonies and rituals to honor the creator and connect with the spiritual realm.
It's like those feathers hold the essence of the eagle's power and connection to the divine.
Absolutely. And the eagle is also associated with leadership, courage, and strength, qualities highly valued in many indigenous cultures.
It embodies the ideal qualities of a warrior or a leader soaring above challenges with clear vision.
Precisely. Okay, what about Raven? We've already talked about him as a trickster, but does he hold any other symbolic meanings?
I'm curious about that too.
Well, Raven is a complex figure. In some cultures, he's seen as a powerful creator deity, bringing light to the world. But in others, he's more of a mischievous trickster, disrupting the status quo.
So it's that duality again. Creation and trickery, light and shadow.
Exactly. He embodies both sides of the coin, reminding us that things are rarely black and white.
It's a good reminder to stay open-minded, to see things from different perspectives.
Absolutely. Okay, how about turtle? What comes to mind when you think of this slow and steady creature?
Well, I think of wisdom, longevity, and stability. They're known for their long lifespans and their slow, deliberate movements.
Precisely. And in many Native American creation myths, turtle plays a central role.
Oh, that's right. I remember reading about how turtle's back serves as the foundation for the world in some stories.
Exactly. Its shell represents the earth, symbolizing stability and endurance.
It's a beautiful image, connecting turtle to the very essence of creation.
Absolutely. And its association with water adds another layer of meaning. Water is often seen as a symbol of life, purification, and transformation.
So turtle embodies those qualities too, living both on land and in water.
Exactly. Okay, on to a very different creature. Wolf. What symbolic meanings does this pack animal hold?
Well, I think of loyalty, intelligence, and strong family bonds. Wolves are known for their fierce protectiveness of their pack.
Precisely. And they're also seen as teachers and guides, offering wisdom and protection.
It's interesting how the wolf can be both feared and revered, representing both the wildness of nature and the potential for deep connection.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that nature is full of contradictions, just like we are.
Okay, let's talk about buffalo. This animal holds a particularly significant place in Native American culture, especially for the Plains tribes.
Oh, absolutely. The buffalo represents abundance, strength, and sacrifice. It was a source of sustenance and survival for many tribes.
It provided them with everything they needed: food, clothing, shelter, tools.
Exactly. And the buffalo hunt was not just a practical activity, it was a sacred act imbued with ritual and respect.
It's a reminder that our relationship with nature should be one of gratitude and reverence, not just exploitation.
Absolutely. Okay, now for a creature that often evokes strong reactions, snake. What
Right.
symbolic meanings does this reptile hold?
Well, I think of transformation, healing, and the cyclical nature of life. Snakes shed their skin, representing renewal and rebirth.
Precisely. And in many cultures, the snake is seen as a powerful medicine animal, capable of both healing and harming.
It's that duality again, isn't it? The snake embodies both the positive and negative aspects of nature.
Exactly. It reminds us that things are not always what they seem, and that even seemingly negative things can have positive aspects.
Okay, and finally we have spider. What comes to mind when you think of this eight-legged weaver?
Spider is often associated with creativity, wisdom, and the interconnectedness of all things.
Oh yeah, its web is such an intricate and beautiful creation. It's like a metaphor for the web of life that connects us all.
Exactly. And in many Native American cultures, Spider is seen as a wise teacher, storyteller, and even a creator deity.
It's fascinating how this creature, which is often feared or misunderstood, can hold such profound symbolic meanings.
Absolutely. The spider reminds us that even the smallest creatures play a vital role in the grand scheme of things, and that we are all connected in ways we may not even realize.
It's a beautiful and humbling perspective.
It is, and I think the video does a fantastic job of highlighting the richness and diversity of animal symbolism in Native American folklore.
It's like these animal figures add another layer of meaning to the stories, inviting us to connect with the wisdom and wonder of the natural world.
Absolutely. And it's a great segue into the video's exploration of the overarching themes and messages conveyed through these myths and legends.
Oh yeah, we've talked about the specific figures, the cultural variations, and the symbolic meanings. But what overarching messages are these stories trying to tell us?
That's a great question. The video highlights several key themes that run through these stories, regardless of their specific cultural origins.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of these universal themes?
Well, one prominent theme is the interconnectedness of all things. These stories emphasize the delicate balance of nature, the ripple effects of our actions, and the understanding that we are all part of a larger web of life.
It's like a reminder that we're not separate from nature, we're a part of it.
Exactly. And another key theme is the importance of respecting nature. The stories are full of examples of what happens when humans disrespect the environment.
Right, there are consequences. It's like a built-in moral code encouraging us to live in harmony with nature.
Precisely. And this theme ties in beautifully with another recurring message, the cyclical nature of life and death.
Oh, absolutely. We see that reflected in the seasons, in the animal symbolism, in the transformations that these figures undergo.
It's a reminder that death is not an end, but a transition to a new beginning.
And that change is a natural part of life,
Yeah.
something to be embraced rather than feared.
Exactly. What other themes have you noticed?
Well, the video also seems to emphasize the importance of balance, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. We see it in the balance between the seelie and unseelie courts, the light and shadow aspects of the trickster, the need for humans to find harmony within themselves and with nature.
It's like the stories are saying, hey, find that middle path, avoid extremes, seek equilibrium.
Exactly. And another key theme is the power of transformation. So many of these figures have the ability to shapeshift, to change their form.
It's like they're showing us that transformation is possible, that we can shed old patterns and become something new.
Absolutely. It's a message of hope and possibility, reminding us that we're not fixed or limited.
These themes are so profound and timeless. It's incredible how these ancient stories can still speak to us so deeply today.
I completely agree. It's a testament to the power of storytelling, to its ability to connect us to something larger than ourselves.
And to offer guidance and wisdom for navigating the complexities of life.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, there's one more element I want to touch on. The enduring legacy of these myths and legends in the modern world.
Oh yeah, these stories aren't just relics of the past, they're still very much alive today.
Absolutely. They continue to inspire artists, writers, musicians, and even environmental activists.
It's like they're constantly being reinterpreted and reimagined, finding new relevance in each generation.
Precisely. They're not static, they're fluid, constantly evolving and adapting to new contexts.
And that's what makes them so powerful, so enduring.
I completely agree. They're a wellspring of wisdom and wonder that we can keep returning to throughout our lives.
Yeah, and it's not just in art and literature, right? They're popping up in modern psychology too.
Oh, totally. Like Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious,
Yeah, those archetypes that appear across cultures.
Exactly. He believed that those symbols, like we see in these fairy tales, they tap into some kind of shared human experience.
So it's not just a random Irish myth about a banshee.
Right. It's reflecting something deeper. Those universal fears and desires we all have.
Makes you think, right? Like these stories are trying to tell us something about ourselves.
For sure. And what's so cool is these stories, they're not stuck in the past.
Right, they're always evolving, adapting to new contexts.
We're seeing them reinterpreted through a feminist lens nowadays.
Oh yeah, and explored in modern art and literature.
Even used to inspire environmental activism. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It really shows how powerful these stories are.
Totally. And I think that's what the video really drives home,
Oh,
Well, it's not just about analyzing these myths and legends.
it's about what they can teach us, right?
Exactly. They offer guidance, wisdom, a sense of connection to something bigger.
Like that primal longing to connect with nature that we've been talking about.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we're part of something vast and mysterious.
And that these stories, they can help us navigate that mystery.
They can help us understand ourselves and our place in the world.
Beautifully put. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
I agree. It's been a fascinating journey exploring these myths and legends.
It really has, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed diving deep with us.
Me too. Who knows? Maybe they'll even be inspired to do some exploring of their own.
Oh, for sure. There's a whole world of folklore and mythology out there just waiting to be discovered.
And it's full of wisdom, wonder, and maybe even a little bit of magic.
I love that. So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep that sense of wonder alive.